Hi everyone, I'm Andy and I'm joined today by David from Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust.
Good morning.
So David, you're embarking on a digital transformation journey at the Trust. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what the motivators and drivers were?
Yes, the Trust has put an awful lot of effort in the last 2 to 3 years in improving its foundations for digital transformation. So we've already implemented a single electronic patient record for the Trust. Unusually about half of our business is education and training.
Okay.
We've also implemented a single student information management system for the Trust. So now we've got that basic technology in place, the question going forward for the Trust is, great, now what do we do with it?
Okay, and what does that look like? I mean, you started on a journey with Microsoft and with ANS potentially to the cloud. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What does cloud technology do for the Trust that maybe you don't have today, and why are you sort of starting that journey?
In most simple terms, we want to move the Trust in the next few years. That's going to require a limitation on the amount of physical infrastructure on site. But I think more fundamentally, as we progress up the tiers of digital maturity, we're moving from projects that were focused on the internal processes of the Trust to ones that are more directly facing our patients and our students.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that requires a completely different infrastructure, security, performance model to the traditional models you would have had in the NHS, which have been quite introspective.
Yeah. So when you start to move to cloud technology, there's a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to take advantage of now that you wouldn't be able to take advantage of in the future. So you hear a lot of things out in the industry at the minute, like AI would help change healthcare, machine learning, any of those cognitive services really to try and help improve patient outcomes. Can you talk to us a little bit more specifically about what some of those cloud services, which ones do you feel will add the most value to the NHS and Tavistock and Portman in general?
I definitely think AI has some opportunities in healthcare, and I think perhaps even more so when we look at mental health care, where you're trying to deal with less structured data sets, where you're trying to gather some understanding that underlies a very broad data set.
Probably lots of disparate systems as well. And
absolutely. I think there is also some very interesting opportunities there for providing continual care to the patient. We have huge challenges across the NHS in terms of our capacity. We have long gaps between appointments and points of contact with the patient, during which we've got to try and keep a view of the patient's readiness to progress through a clinical pathway, but also that they're not falling back. So there are some opportunities through combinations of AI, through patient portals, through other means of defining and designing our clinical pathways that mean we can keep track of our patients and continue to care for them even when they're not in our hospitals or our centres.
Yes, you're looking to build much more of like a common data platform. Are you looking to maybe then build some maybe brand new systems of engagement on top using cloud technology? You're starting with maybe a migration in first to sort of find the way and then start to look at building brand new systems of innovation on top?
Absolutely.
Have you got an example of like just in the mental health of maybe what that might look like? Or
yes, I mean if we look for example at our gender services within the Tavistock and Portman, so there we have an elevated number of referrals increasing year on year beyond the capacity of the system to cope. So we need to find ways to look after those service users in between points of contact with the Trust. We need to try and find ways to help steer individuals down the most appropriate clinical pathway. So we have a number of projects we're considering that will build out our patient portal function, that will build on top of our existing clinical pathways to give us that continual care between appointments. And from my perspective, there's from a capacity and capability point of view, we wouldn't be building those on traditional infrastructure. We wouldn't be building on those with the skill sets we have immediately available.
And probably the operational processes as well. You kind of get with, so you can modernise the whole ops model as well at the same time, focus on higher value services. So from what you've learned then so far and what you're doing, what advice, you guys sound like you're really mature in the way that you're saying, you've got the future, you know what you're going to build, you know the areas that you can add the most value. What advice would you pass to other NHS trusts that were maybe concerned about that move and concerned about the operational shift, maybe the technology? Have you got any sort of words of wisdom?
I honestly don't feel there is actually a reason to have anything but a cloud-first approach in terms of infrastructure anymore. I think increasingly you'll find traditional infrastructures limit your opportunities for innovation. Certainly in terms of the skill sets, the capacity and capability you need to retain in a trust, why would a healthcare organisation want to retain those in-house? So I think my advice to other NHS organisations is there will always be reasons that you wouldn't go cloud for particular systems. You might addressing the whole capital versus revenue problem. just do it anyway. You will find that the business case does stack up.
Yep.
Particularly on that capital revenue. So
Yeah.
if you are finding that
is a challenge.
Well, absolutely, but it probably means you haven't delved into the full cost of operating everything on site in terms of its full.
It's not just IT, it's facilities, budgets, and everything else. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And once you delve into it, once you jump in, you will find those business cases do start to add up.
Yes, I think what you're saying is you've almost got to force the point a little bit to bring the other business units with you to try and get you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing a really great job of that. I think one final question that I'll ask, if that's okay. What are you looking for from a partnership perspective of people to help you on this journey? What really sort of turns you on in terms of, when you're embarking on those digital services and digital journeys, what are you looking for from the ecosystem?
I think my first requirement is probably quite a boring one.
Okay.
When it comes to my infrastructure, my platform, I don't want to have to worry about it.
Okay.
I don't want to have the sleepless nights I always had previously when I was worried about whether the infrastructure within my several quasi data centers in the trust was actually going to be up in the morning. So that bit of it just has to work.
Yeah.
But of course, what you then want is a partner who can work with you to understand the real infrastructure and platform ramifications of the business objectives.
Yeah.
So in moving to this model where we're providing continual care at home, that is a very different type of service to be provided. That's going to require a very different model in terms of security, in terms of the performance of systems, in terms of the resilience of the systems, and you need a partner who can help explore that.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for that great insight, David.
Thank you.